Hello, Professor McGinnis and fellow classmates. My name's Laura Ritchie, and I did my assignment on the Scottish Wars of Independence. The reason I chose the Scottish Wars of Independence is because my family comes from Scotland. I am a descendant of a Scottish family known as the Frasers, and I have been able to trace my family back to Sir Simon Fraser, who fought in the First Scottish War of Independence. The Scottish Wars of Independence have been a topic of mine that I've been researching for many years, and I have learned that the Scottish Wars of Independence are some of the most significant events that took place in Scottish history, but not just Scottish history, also in English history. However, with my research, I have tried to remain unbiased. However, there is a lot of research out there that I have seen that maintain a bias on the favor of the Scottish. I want to try and view their history unbiased so I can have a better understanding of why the English wanted to maintain control of Scotland and why Scotland wanted to maintain their independence. So for our assignment, I want to give the public a better understanding of the events that took place, of the treaties that were signed, the creation of the longbow, and also some of the more significant people that fought in those wars. I focused on the 50-year time period to include the very ending of the First Scottish War of Independence and the events in the Second Scottish War of Independence. At the end of the First Scottish War of Independence, we see that the barons of Scotland drew up a declaration of Aberoth declaring Robert the Bruce as King of Scotland and declaring Scotland as an independent country. After that document was drafted, there is a small time period in Scotland where they were an independent country because King Edward II didn't want to fight them on their independence and wanted to allow them to have their independence. However, after the death of King Edward II, his son Edward III ascended the throne and became King Edward III. And he wanted to continue the legacy of his grandfather, King Edward I, and take over Scotland as their country as part of England. Now, during the Treaty of Edinburgh Northampton, which was seen by the Pope and between England before the crowning of King Edward III, it declared Scotland as an independent country and gave King Robert the Bruce the leadership as the ruling king of Scotland. However, during that time, King Edward Bruce was very ill and actually ended up passing away 6 days after that treaty was signed. And then he was succeeded by his son, King David II, who was only 5 years old at the time of his crowning. However, King Edward III wanted to take back control of Scotland, so he initiated a Second Scottish War of Independence, and that caused the royalty and nobility in Scotland to fear for the life of King David II and exiled him to France, where he took refuge until he became of age to come back to Scotland and rule as its king. There are many battles that took place during the Scottish Wars of Independence. However, some of them held more significance because they gave one side or the other a better advantage. And you can see the more significant battles listed in my mapping assignment. My goal is to continue to build on this assignment to provide the public with a better understanding of these two Scottish Wars of Independence and also how they laid the foundation for other countries to start fighting for their own independence. I look forward to hearing your feedback, and I truly, truly enjoy doing this research and these assignments. Thank you. Have a nice day.